Recently, my mother and I were talking about, as we often do, how the market is saturated with skincare products and beauty products of all types and varieties, both gizmos and gadgets and topical skincare. And I was telling her how grateful I am, and we talk about this frequently because she also uses retin-A, and she's been a long time user for over many decades of her life. So we often talk about this, how grateful we are to have started our topical cosmetic skin treatment early, because the thing about retinols, and specifically tretinoin, which is, in my opinion, and I think many professional dermatologists' opinion, it is the gold standard of topical cosmetic intervention as far as skincare goes. Anti-aging kind of has a negative tone to me. So I prefer, what do I prefer? I don't know, something more positive, like beautifying, delaying premature visible signs of aging. I'm not anti-aging. I am embracing of natural aging, and I want to, however, I do want to delay, if I can, which I can, I want to delay that which I can delay. I don't want to invite premature visible signs of aging. I don't think any of us wants that. So I was speaking with my mother about this, how grateful I am and we are that we are now at the point in our lives that we just simply have to maintain our skin treatment, as it were. And she was reminding me that, because I said, that was such a good choice that we as a family made to start me on that path at age 20, 21, which is very young for a so-called anti-aging skincare regimen. And she was reminding me, she said, Jennifer, you didn't start tretinoin as an anti-aging. It had nothing to do with beautifying your skin. You had a horrendous acne. And of course I thought, although I remember now, this goes to show how much I had blocked that very important detail from my memory, basically, because indeed I had horrendous acne, as did she. But I had terrible acne, and long story short, that was the plan. It was a treatment plan, so of course I remember now. But it didn't start with tretinoin. In fact, I had started with a product called Duac. I'm not sure if that product still exists, but that was the product that I was using to treat my acne. I was on Duac, and then I used something called benzocaine to try to eradicate the acne. I then went to Tazorac, which was very harsh. It did work, but the side effects were so harsh. And then I used a product called Renova, which I believe at the time was manufactured by Neutrogena. It might still be manufactured by Neutrogena if that product still exists. Then I went to try retin-A Micro. Then I tried retin-A, both the cream and the gel. And then I tried Atrilin, which solidified it for me. So anyway, this skincare journey, the thing with success is that we often see, no matter what the success is, like whether someone has clear skin, or they have a fit body, or they have success in any domain, we often only see the finished product, and the person can narrate the steps that brought them to that level of final outcome that we see. But we don't often hear the nitty-gritty, gory details of it. Yeah, to my mother's point, I had horrendous acne, and that's something that it was painful, both physically and emotionally. I don't think people who haven't suffered from severe acne recognize and probably fully appreciate how emotionally and mentally it affects the person, because, it's your face. And it's of course, the cystic acne is itself painful, but the image we project, especially for me when I was that age, as a late teenager and then coming into my 20s, I felt it was awful. It was awful. And then going through that treatment to try and land on something that would eventually work, and then that I could weave into my life in a sustainable fashion. That's why I'm so passionate. This is why I'm so passionate about tretinoin, because it has, I'm not claiming that it's going to work with that level of efficacy for everyone. Indeed, that treatment regimen saved my face, and I have elaborated on how tretinoin absolutely changed my face. So I guess that's number one, that she reminded me that it was my severe acne that, initiated that treatment protocol in the first place. And that's one thing that a lot of people who watch my videos, they point out that I forget to acknowledge my genetics. And I think what people mean is that I think people are conflating my facial features with the condition of my skin. So just to be clear, I credit my genetics, of course, with the way my face is arranged, my physicality, the facial features. That is something over which I had no control, obviously. So when I have said in the past that I neglect to acknowledge my genetics, it's not that I'm not grateful for the cards that I've been dealt, so to speak. It's that I didn't earn my genetics, and therefore I take it for granted in that way, because I didn't earn it. It was just given to me at birth. But facial features aside, the source material, as I've often called it, that has nothing to do with my skin, the condition of my skin. I did not inherit my clear, good skin, smooth skin. The skin that I have now it's been a long and arduous journey, really, of topical treatment consistently, adhering to my routine, which I've shared. It's basic and simple, but I've been extremely consistent since I was, preteen with my skincare routine. But as far as when the acne started and the whole treatment came into play, ever since then, all the way into my 40s, which is current day, I have been extraordinarily consistent with my skincare. So that's what has afforded me this success of having clear, smooth skin, is because I've my adherence to the protocol, which is why I share it so passionately, because this is the only intervention that I participate in. As I've shared before, I don't do anything cosmetic enhancement whatsoever. It's just not for me. I don't do any body modification whatsoever. So the topical treatment in the form of tretinoin and or retin-A, which is it's a brand name of tretinoin, and adapalene. I alternate those and I maintain my skin, but that's all I do. And then I wear sunscreen, and I've shared my skincare routine, but that's it. So this is why I am constantly repeating myself, because I think it's valuable, because nowadays, my mother and I were also talking about this, it's difficult to find someone who is focused on one intervention. People are doing all kinds of various things with red light therapy and all kinds of other extreme injectable interventions. And so while I appreciate that everyone has bodily autonomy, of course, what other people do, so as not to go off on a tangent, because I don't want to ever offend anyone. So people can do what they want with their bodies, and they should. So whatever gets you out the door, have at it. But I am not one who is participating in those trendy, injectable things. I just don't have any interest in that. So all of this to say is that for me, what I represent is someone who is using topical treatment only. And the reason I emphasize that is not because I feel like it's some kind of superiority over people who choose a different route of so-called anti-aging. It's because it's valuable to see a representation of what is possible with topical treatment only. And sunscreen protection. That's why my motto is protect, preserve, prevent. protect your skin, to preserve what you have and prevent future damage. That's how I live. That's my beauty philosophy. So it's very streamlined and simple. And then a lot of my skincare is actually in my kitchen, meaning the food that I consume and what I avoid consuming. So it's a whole lifestyle. So my skin, I did not inherit. If anything, I inherited through my genes, my mother's bad acne. Thank you, Mommy. Thanks, Mommy. But if anything, I inherited terrible acne from her. So that, again, I say this not to criticize people who have said that my genes are responsible for my skin, but to just clarify that no, I can say that with confidence, that my genes are not responsible for the condition of my skin. This is something I have earned through my adherence to the routine, to protecting my skin every day with SPF and broad-brimmed hats all my life. I've just been so mindful of this. So even my mother was saying, you have to give yourself more credit. You earned this. This is something that you have brought yourself here, your complexion, because your habits have created this outcome. So I just want to clarify that, because it should empower you that you and anyone can do the same. That's my point. And to see someone, I think, in their 40s who isn't doing all kinds of radical things to their face, just to see a naturally aged, middle-aged woman who is taking good care of herself, I think that's valuable, because it's kind of rare, especially on social media, that someone is not doing other things. And I want to show people what's possible. That's my hope. And then that will hopefully empower people and motivate people to, the earlier you start with this, the better the outcome. So I wanted to just, I suppose, make that point and encourage people. And people often feel overwhelmed, I think, in today's day and age, because there are so many products with which we are bombarded and trying to be sold, and things that cost exorbitant amounts of money. And that's another thing, if you'll notice, any and all of my skincare, not only is it very basic and mind-numbingly dull, my routine, and quick, but it's very inexpensive. And I don't go out of my way to save money in terms of my skincare products, but I look at the ingredients and I look for things that are fragrance-free, inert, because I use these heavy-duty prescription strength medications on my face. I'm not trying to add all kinds of peptides and all kinds of stuff. I'm not interested in that whatsoever. The tretinoin is doing the heavy lifting. So the products such as moisturizer and SPF, and I use a vitamin C serum, and I use castor oil around my eye area. I look for things that are actually inert, so that are not going to add more treatment to my skin, because one of the things about tretinoin is it makes your skin very delicate, because it accelerates the cellular turnover to a rapid degree, which is why I get this new face every day, because it's like a turbo exfoliant. It's a turbo chemical exfoliant every single day. So when I wash my face in the morning, I can feel my skin peeling off of my face. So I've said this before, but I get a new face every day. And that's what I want. I want that fresh baby skin, smooth, glowing skin. So that's a great byproduct, but I have to kind of watch with my other skincare. You'll notice that the moisturizer I use, and even I don't use an eye cream, I just use castor oil, because these products are so gentle, and even my cleanser is very gentle. And I do that purposely because I don't want, and it's a fringe benefit that those products are very inexpensive, but I just find that the more expensive products are, they add fragrance, they come in fancy packaging, which is often very wasteful and unnecessary. It looks nice, but I don't need that. And more often than not, the expensive products are these so-called luxury cosmeceutical skincare products. They are very heavily perfumed, and I don't care for that. I'm not interested in it, but if that works for you, then you should do that. I never want to tell someone what to do. Rather, I want to just share what I do. And if it's useful, that would be great. Boring habits. The word boring is, as far as skincare goes, is another word for consistent. And habits performed consistently produce results. So, you get a huge return on your investment, especially with something like this, specifically with something like this. I can tell you, I can show you, and I can tell you that this, in 20 years, your return on investment will be enormous. That's why my mother and I talk about this all the time, that we're so grateful that we have all these decades behind us of prescription retinoid usage, because we find that we have delayed our aging, visibly, which is nice. Everyone wants that, I think. So it's really a nice thing. And sustainability matters more than novelty or excitement. So that's another thing where I think people get tripped up, is they see these shiny products, or they might see someone on YouTube reviewing all kinds of new on the shelf products. And I think people get wandering eyes, like, should I buy that and use that? And if you're asking me, no. If you have a routine that works for you, let people review products, but don't buy into that. Literally, don't buy into it. Ignore it. Stay in your lane, stay focused. If you have landed on something that works for you, let people do what they do and focus on what you're doing. You will have better success if you adhere to your effective routine rather than be tempted to try the latest, greatest, newest, shiniest, fanciest skincare, because new products are coming out in the marketplace all the time. And I think people get even fatigued by even what is out there. It's overwhelming, frankly. So don't even follow my specific routine unless you try it and it works for you. My point always is, once you find the products that work for you, give it 12 weeks or so and see what products are efficacious for you, then use those for at least a couple years. Use them consistently enough so you can see the result. People don't do things enough, not just with skincare, but with exercise, with diet. They don't wait enough time. They don't give it enough time to bear fruit. So you have to be patient. I know it's boring and it's not sexy to hear that. You have to be adherent to the routine, consistent, and patient most of all. You just have to wait and just let the product work or not work, but you have to wait to see the result and not, quit prematurely and then, get discouraged. And I think many people do. So that's why patience is a virtue. So reinforcement is often hidden because we have to wait especially with skincare. You're not going to see the result overnight. I have said this, but with Tretinoin, once I landed on Atrilin, which was the product that was, for me, transformed my face, I had to wait a whole year before I got my new face, my new face that you kind of see now, that I've just kind of maintained all this time. Of course, I've aged over the years. What I mean is the condition of my skin. It took a whole year, and that's a long time. But if you look at the grand scheme of your life, it's a very short period of time. So that's why I'm always saying, if you can give it a year or two, just be very patient. And people quit way too soon. You have to almost have, you almost have to just remind yourself of the direction, the trajectory is more important than the outcome. So try as much as you can to ignore the outcome, that you want clear, smooth skin. Try and ignore what you're trying to get. Instead, focus on the direction that you're heading in and just adhere to the habits that promote that direction. And you will get there, I promise. Not just with skincare, but this could be applied to anything in life, in fact. People focus and grasp onto the outcome, because we all have goals and we want what we want. And I'm no different. I have said this before, but I wanted that glass skin. I wanted good skin because I had such horrible acne, and I just dreamt of having a face that wasn't riddled with acne and that pain being gone from my face. And it happened, but I had to go through a lot to get there, but it was worth it. I would not change anything now. And I had relatives telling me this. They said, when you're in your 40s, you're going to thank your younger self. And I said, I don't know. I was so uncertain because when you're going through that painful treatment, that's the last thing you want to hear is that, just trust the process and stick with it. And okay, it sounds good. But in practice, it's hard because you just want to wake up the next day and have that acne be gone from your face. But that didn't happen. But it did eventually happen. So I always want to encourage people that if you stick with it, it does and it will prove successful for you. But you have to give it long enough. And that's the thing where people get very impatient. And I hate to say it, don't shoot the messenger, but you must be patient and consistent. And that's really the only way. That's really the only way. And one other thing I want to, bust a myth, but there is a myth that exists that tretinoin can eradicate or reverse wrinkles. That's not true. So it can delay the onset of premature wrinkling, and it can kind of soften the appearance of lines and wrinkles. But I can tell you firsthand, of course, I'm only 43, so let's all keep that in mind, please. I'm not 65 or 75, so I don't have wrinkles anyway because I'm 43. So I'm still too young to have wrinkles, but I do have lines, and when I express, I have expression lines. They're not static or fixed because, again, I'm not old enough to have wrinkles. But I look at my mother, and she's 75, and she doesn't have deep wrinkles. She has beautiful, amazing skin, smooth skin, but she doesn't have wrinkles. And so it's kind of amazing that it does delay. I can see it in her. It delays, it definitely delays wrinkling. But does it erase or reverse wrinkles and lines? No. It simply softens the appearance of it because of the effect of smoothing and tightening and firming and the increase in collagen production, which, collagen production naturally decreases as we age. So one of the benefits of tretinoin is that it boosts your own skin's collagen production. And that's huge because along with not smoking and avoiding sugar, these are things that we can do, and avoiding unnecessary UV exposure. These are things that inhibit collagen production. So those are habits that we can do to not increase our body's own collagen loss, but we can also use tretinoin to boost the natural collagen production in the skin. So by way of that, it does delay, it tremendously delays the onset of premature visible signs of aging, such as wrinkles, fine lines, and even things like sagging skin because of that firming and toning and tightening effect. So these are all things that are great, but will it erase or reverse wrinkles? No, I don't think anything topical can do that. So I wanted to kind of address that. And it also doesn't erase pores. I don't think pores can be erased, nor should they. Pores serve a very important purpose for our physiology. But again, it does soften the appearance of pores because of the smoothing effect on the complexion and because it promotes that radiant glow that we recognize in people that use tretinoin. There is a glow that comes from that because, again, the toning, tightening, firming, collagen boost, and then if you protect your skin accordingly, you will look younger. In my experience and in people who are in my life who have used retin-A for as long as I have or longer, their skin has a certain radiance and bounciness to it, like a youthful look. So I get very excited talking about this because I want people to experience this, and you can, and you don't need any of that trendy stuff that people are doing to their faces. I'm not going to tell you what to do or not do, but again, I just want to show in myself as an example of what's possible with topical treatment alone, and protection and diet and lifestyle and all these things. It comes together, and it is very doable to have a successful, quote unquote, anti-aging regimen that will have you looking your age. That's another thing. I think I look my age, but I look like a well-kept, well taken care of 43-year-old woman, and I'm satisfied with that. I don't want to look 25 because I'm not 25. I also don't want to look 65 because I'm not 65. My goal is to look like my age. Like, when did that go out of fashion? Why is it an insult to look your age? I don't know, but I want to look my age, and I want to be a representation of a strong, fit, healthy, glowing 43-year-old woman. So that's my goal, and I want to encourage and empower each of you that you can do the same. You can be, proud of your skin and have that success, but you have to work for it. It's not going to come easily. You have to look at your habits, look at your routines. Don't overcomplicate things. Less is best, but you have to stay adherent, and you have to protect. Most of all, you have to protect what you have to preserve it so that you can prevent future damage or prevent premature damage. I think by now, people who are familiar with tretinoin, people know what it can do. Tretinoin is not going to do anything to reverse something, and no topical treatment is going to do that. So if someone is trying to sell you something that you apply to your skin that's going to reverse aging, that's impossible. So run in the other direction and hide your wallet, because that's a lie. So don't buy into that. I think I've said all I wanted to say, and I mostly wanted to provide an update because I periodically do these as the years go on, and my maintenance phase of using tretinoin for over 2 decades at this point, almost 2.5 decades at this point, I have accrued this experience. So although I'm not a professional skincare expert, and I'm not a dermatologist or any kind of professional in this field, I have the credibility of, I don't have credentials in this. I have credibility because I am someone with experience in this. I feel confident in what I can offer in terms of what people can expect to see with their skin, especially in the long term, using this product. But I wanted to encourage people. The point I made earlier about genetics not being responsible for my skin is important, because I think a lot of people think, oh, it's just she has good skin because of her genes. No, my skin, the condition of my skin, if anything, I inherited severe acne. So I've really had to work on this with the help of these topical products, and then incorporating these habits, these protection habits, like being a lifelong hat wearer, lifelong SPF wearer, just being very mindful of my diet and how that contributes to my skin, the appearance of my skin. And so it's been a long road to get here, is my point. I say that to drive home the point that you can get the results you want. You can get the skin of your dreams, but it's not going to come easily, and it's not going to come quickly, unfortunately. You are going to have to wait, and you are going to have to do certain things if you want to. Of course, all of this is optional, but we all want to put our best face forward. So if this is something of interest to you and you want to start your skincare journey, my biggest pieces of advice would be to start early, because the earlier you start, the more time you have to accumulate the compounding benefits. Number 2, be consistent. Adhere to the routine that works for you, and just be boringly consistent. And number 3, patience. You have to wait. You have to be patient, and you just have to trust the direction and the trajectory rather than fixate on the goal. So try as much as you can to ignore what you want. Let go of the desire, very yogic principle here. Let go of the desire and instead focus on your actions each and every day. Stay with the habit, trust the direction of the habit, and know that your discipline and adherence to your routine is in service of the outcome. So you'll get what you want. You will get there, but you've got to wait and you've got to stay strong and stick to your routine. That goes for anything in life, in fact, not just skincare. So this can be applied in any way. I want to thank you, as always, for watching.